Ok, j'envoie le son.
Oye, pégale, on va danser. Oh, pégale, allez, pégale, on va danser. Oh, pégale, oh, papa Cyril le DJ, on va danser. Oh, pégale, oh, ça c'est Mistral le DJ, on va danser. Oh, pégale, mon père DJ Poulet le DJ, on va danser. Oh, pégale, maman Astou ma reine, on va danser. Oh, pégale, à tu veux ou tu veux pas, on va danser. Oh, pégale.
Yaya Tongara, Royal Production.
We got a lot of, after we started running the course, we got a lot of requests from people about how we recorded these. And we just finished recording week 10 material. And so we thought we'd go ahead and give you sort of behind the scenes, figure out sort of how we set stuff up, how we edit it and the like. I will say that I think where we ended at week 10 was particularly strong. In preparation for week 10, I went back and looked at week 1 material and I was like, no, my goodness, it's so dark and sad. So I just kind of give you a little sense for what's going on. So we're not in front of a green screen or anything. That would be great. What we're in front of is we're in the back of a classroom in the communication department. That's a white wall. They cleaned it at one point so you don't see the smudges quite as much. But it gives us sort of a generic backdrop. So we've got a white wall back there. And if you want to take a look at what's behind me, we'll go to the next camera. Hello there. So you can see here what I've got. So we've got the camera set up here. We've got a lighting kit. Once again, this is a room actually I teach in on a regular basis. It just happens to be a tiered room. I wanted something, initially when we started, I was doing the lectures as if I was doing them in the classroom. Now the problem is, in a classroom, I pretty much work with a 15-minute unit, right? So I'll teach and have an activity or something like that around 15 minutes. That felt too long for the online material. So I really had to do more scheduling to bring it down to really what I want. I like it if they can come in closer to about 8 minutes and 30 seconds. That feels about right to me. Now, that's based on me watching them go, when they're 5 minutes, I feel like I could do more. But the second they hit 10 minutes, I'm bored with myself. Which happens often. But anyway, so you see the cameras here. I have another laptop set up here. I run a timer. I only recently started doing that past couple of weeks, but I like being able to look down and see where I am. One of the things is, earlier on, if we ran something and it ran 14 minutes, so like we did a recording, we don't stop and re-record. So I want to record in one fell swoop. And so if we had recorded something that was 14 minutes, in post-production we'd have to go find a place to cut that in half. So to make it into 7 minutes or 8 minutes and however. So instead of doing that, if I've got a timer running and I see 8 or 9 minutes, I know even if I'm not done with the lecture that I'm doing, I'll bring that one to a close and then the second one will be sort of part 2 to that. So it provides a break. Still sort of a coherent educational unit, but just broken in. So we don't have to do much in terms of editing post-production because if I've got that timer running, I know when I need to shut up. So then you'll see the reason we went to the back of a classroom is so I can do PowerPoint slides. So when I teach, I normally do PowerPoint slides, and I don't work off of notes, but I'll often look at that and then just extemporize. But once again, I needed to plan these out a little bit more to hit that 8.5 minute mark. So you'll see up here, I've got my clicker, and what's appearing on there is basically my key points. There's more on there than there would be if I was actually teaching a class because I don't necessarily want students to take down all of that material. I keep my notes pretty minimal in a lecture scenario. But here, there's a lot more to remind me of the major chunks. So I'll advance through these while I'm speaking. Sometimes I'm a little bit off to the side, so it looks like I'm sort of looking up. I like it better if I can be right in front and I can see most of that. So I've got my lecture slides up there, or at least my prompts up there. It kind of works almost like a teleprompter, but I control it more, and it's really mapped around kind of how I would lecture anyway with PowerPoint slides as my keynotes. So I've got my clicker, we've got the screens up there, we've got the lighting, we've got that. So this is just for shooting. So what's happening is you can see the computer up there. That's the one that I've got the timer on this one. I could actually use a clock, but why use a clock when you've got a laptop? So up on there, we've got Camtasia running. That'll do a screen grab just to kind of get a sense for when I'm advancing to, because I'm not there in the booth when they do editing post-production. So they can get a sense of where these slides are, but I give them my slide deck, and it doesn't have any graphics or anything in it. And then they'll take it back over to the tower, which is a building off campus. It sounds dangerous, and it is. I don't know why I'm still looking at that one. I should totally be looking at this one. Anyway, so they'll take it over to the tower, and that's where they'll do all the adding of the graphics. I think probably a lot of people think that I'm standing in front of a green screen, and when I click this thing, I'm changing the slides on there. I'm not. It's a way of advancing this and controlling it. That's not terribly disruptive. So they'll take the raw footage and go back over to the tower and edit in all the graphics. We normally have an email back and forth, so we'll get raw, so the editing team will put in all those graphics. Usually during shooting, I'll talk to them and say, well, here's kind of what I was thinking, here's what we want in there. About a couple of days, middle of the week, then the footage with the graphics will come out. We'll talk about other sort of additional edits, and then it'll probably be polished, and then we send it off to have subtitling done. So that's kind of I don't know how long that went. That felt long. But I get a thumbs up, so you can always stop watching. So that's kind of a general sense of how we set things up. It ended up working out pretty well, and I would say over the weeks that we did shooting, we started off from it looked good, but it was a lot rockier. And what we've got now is a nice system that allows us to quickly get stuff out. And I'd say the main thing is it still allows me to be teacherly in the sense that I can extemporize most of what I'm going to say. But at the same time, I've also brought in even more planning so I can hit closer to an 8 to 10 minute mark, when normally for each one of these chunks I'm typically thinking more 15 to 18 minute if I'm in a physical classroom. So it allows us to do stuff so we don't have to do a lot of editing. We can just do full shoots. A 10-minute chunk, send it off. A 10-minute chunk, send it off. Anyway, so that's kind of a very brief overview of what we've done here. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I did.